Hey everybody, it's Danielle Miller here. Welcome to the special Halloween edition of the Empowered Brand Show today. I am delighted that you are coming to hang out with me, either live or on catching the replay later. Cool. So today I want to talk about something that is particularly scary any time of the year, much less at Halloween, and that is what I call scary brand syndrome. So we're going to cover what exactly scary brand syndrome is and how you can turn that from a trick into a treat for yourself, and give you some strategies on getting away from the scary brand syndrome and getting into the super sweet brand syndrome, which is much better, right? So let me just take care of a little housekeeping here. Okie dokie. And we are ready to roll. All right, so scary brand syndrome is spooky. Spooky, spooky. We don't want it any time of the year, particularly around Halloween. So what exactly is scary brand syndrome? Well, scary brand syndrome is, oh, and by the way, I have lots of props today. I have my boo sign back there. I have some witch's brew and my little owl for good luck, my mascot, and some potions back over here, and even have the handy dandy broomstick just in case I need to fly out of here quickly. I know, how cheesy can I get today, right? You never know. Stick around. It could get way worse. So, all right, scary brand syndrome. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, oh, also I have a guest, an in-house guest today, hanging out in the background. You see Bailey back there. She's hanging out with me today. So, hanging out in the office. So, all right, so let's get started on talking about scary brand syndrome. So oftentimes when clients come to me and they are struggling to figure out what their brand is, it's because they haven't done certain things in order to really get their message as clear and concise as possible. And here are some of the problems that clients often come to me. This is what I hear a lot of times when we talk about scary brand syndrome, and I wrote them down, so I'm gonna make sure that I get these. So you find it difficult to describe and connect to your right audience. You're not sure exactly who those people are. You've created the traditional avatar, the traditional demographic. You've done the niche work and all that kind of thing, but you're still not able to find those right people. I know, right, Dave? How prepared can I get? I don't know. I don't have a cauldron, so maybe I need that for next year. So you haven't identified your brand's USP. Now, most people, if you're in marketing at all, you hear that USP thing, you know that means your unique selling proposition. The way I think of it is your unique brand's superpower. So the thing that you do the very best, the thing that is the essence of your brand, that makes you stand out, that makes you different from everybody else in whatever field it is that you're in. Because let's face it, chances are you are doing something that somebody else is doing, but your way of doing it is completely different. Your take on it, your perspective, your story about it is going to be very different from what somebody else is doing. You have a lot of experts telling you what you should be doing. This is something that I have a little bit of a soapbox rant around, because I think that particularly for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, we go into business because we have this dream, this vision. We have something that's not being satisfied within us, and we see a better way to deliver a service or to deliver a product. And so then we think, all right, so now what are the next things that I need to be doing? So you hire a business coach, or you hire somebody in marketing. And this is strictly my own experience and from clients that I have worked with, is what I find is we end up doing things again that we don't want to be doing. So, for example, you may hear, you may have a coach tell you that you need to start a newsletter, or be blogging, or be on every social media platform that's out there. But here's the thing: if you don't enjoy doing it, it's not going to make it fun for you to keep doing, right? It's not going to fulfill you at all. So it's going to be one of these things that Martha Beck, who is a very well-known life coach, she calls it shackles on or shackles off. So when you start doing these things that you really don't enjoy doing, that really kind of drain your energy, that's a shackles on activity. So you have to start asking yourself, you know, even though somebody's telling me I need to be doing these things in my business, is it the best use of my time and energy in order to get my message out there? So, you know, if you hate doing a newsletter, if the whole idea is just, you know, it drags you down, you dread every time you have to sit in front of the computer and try to put something together, why are you still doing it? There are other ways to get your message out there. If you don't like Twitter, you know, don't be on Twitter. Find another platform. Find your people somewhere else. You know, it's all, you started this whole gig to do the things that you really like to do. And granted, there are things in business that are not so fun sometimes, but are necessary. But overall, you know, you have to really become self-aware and figure out what are the things that you really enjoy doing that will help you get your message out there. Because when you enjoy doing them, you're enthusiastic, it's fun, you feel fulfilled, and that is the most powerful magnet for your right people of anything that's out there, any other marketing tool strategy that's out there. When you're enthusiastic and you love what you do, bam. So the next thing is, no one really understands who you are, much less what you actually do. I can't tell you how many websites I go to, and it's a great website, it's beautifully done, but I don't know what this person does. I don't know exactly how they are going to help me. What is the solution they're going to provide for my particular problem? And I see this happens a lot, particularly in the coaching field. You know, you don't want to call yourself necessarily a life coach. So, you know, there's divas and goddesses and dream trackers and, you know, all kinds of different, everybody's trying to find a unique name for what they do. You know, but I think there's nothing wrong with brevity. If you're a life coach, say you're a life coach, you know, say, and then elaborate on exactly what that looks like for your clients. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking a tried and true approach to things, because somebody who is looking for a life coach online and they come upon you and you have some really unique moniker for what you call yourself, they might not realize that you're their solution. So it's very, very important to get super clear and super concise on exactly what it is that you do. You haven't taken the time to understand how to create emotional connections to your brand. Everything in branding revolves around emotions, revolves around creating those deep connections with other people. People want to be validated. They want to know that you get them. They want to know that you have been where they are and you have come out on the other side in whatever way, shape, or form, and you have the tools to help them progress in their journey as well. So it's really important to build those emotional connections, which takes time. I mean, it takes time for a brand, and it takes time for a brand to evolve to be able to do that. You dread sending people to your website. It's scary. It's one of those things, again, that is, you know, it's just really, really, really spooky. It's spooky. And you hate sending people there. And so, you know, that's another thing, you know, that tends to hold people back a lot, is because they're not happy with their online space, the place they're sending people. Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question, Dave. See, and that's funny, because you say you see limits if the brand is you, such as how do you sell the business right? That is a very individual choice to make, and it depends on what your end goal is in that regard. My philosophy around that is I prefer that people brand themselves first. And the reason for that is because I see your name and you as the umbrella under which everything else unfolds. And so a good example of that would be Richard Branson. He is a brand unto himself. He owns Virgin. He's got all these other businesses, but he could still sell those tomorrow and he would still be Richard Branson. He would still be able to start another business. He would still be able to start over again. So I think it really depends. That's a tough question, and it's really something you have to think about as your brand evolves. You may want to be more hands-off in the business that you're in. So perhaps you're a coach and you are creating certifications and programs for to certify other coaches under your particular framework that you use, your protocol that you use with clients. And maybe you want to branch out from that, and maybe at that point that's something that you want to say, yeah, I really wanted to make this a business name and have it be something that I want to sell. But you have to think about, what is the end result for you? What is the end vision that you see for what you're starting? So, and sometimes that's not clear right away. You think about somebody like Martha Stewart, who started out catering parties and grew into this multi-billion-dollar brand now, which I think she is, her company is called something, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but she's still known as Martha Stewart. Same thing with Oprah Winfrey. She has Omni Media, but she's still known as Oprah Winfrey. That could go away. She could sell that tomorrow, and she would still be Oprah Winfrey. So that's my opinion on that, actually, Dave. I'm not sure if that really answered the question so much, but it's something to certainly think about. I think in today's digital age, we remember people and we connect with people. There are so many company brands out there that are shouting messages at us in the digital age, that when you can make that personal connection, that's what makes you memorable and distinctive. And then as you branch out from there, probably the company name is a good idea. So I tend to take the opposite of approach, because I don't think people necessarily remember a company. They remember who they dealt with. They remember somebody who changed their life for the better in some way, and that's really what we connect with. So that's my thoughts on that. I have clients who have company names. Their business is coaching, and they have a specific name for their coaching business, and that's fine. If they feel more comfortable with that. There's also, I think, with that, that's an interesting question. Here's another part of that, is the barrier that you want between yourself and what you put out there. Does that make sense? Because there's this barrier that goes up when you have a company name, and when you have all of those things. There's all these gates that people have to get through in order to get to you. And for some people, that they really, really want that. Other people really recognize the fact that their business hinges on who they are and what they bring to the table. So that's, thank you. Martha Stewart, Living Omni Media. I knew it was something, something like that. So she has her business named after herself. I have mine named after myself, and that doesn't mean, I have things I'm looking at doing, a certification program around the branding protocol that I use that will be, a separate business that I may at some point in the future sell. So, but it's still under the umbrella of who I am and what I bring to the table, because it doesn't happen without me. So I hope that, makes somewhat sense. Sure, you bet. I hope I didn't ramble on too long on that, because it is a very complicated thing, and it's really something that you have to give a lot of thought and time to, as to whether or not, that's the right decision for you in terms of using your name or a business. So, and there's no one size fits all answer for anybody. So we talked about some of these scary brand things. Oh, there's one more too that I find a lot of people really struggle with, and that is getting people to stay on their website. So they think that their opt-in isn't very good, or it's not sticky. It doesn't keep people on their website. So that's another scary brand symptom that I see a lot of times. So what can you do to make people run towards you rather than screaming from you in the brand, around your brand? You know, you have to, one of the first things you have to do is you have to narrow your focus. You cannot be all things to all people. It doesn't matter, you know, I believe branding can help everybody, but not everybody is my client. And so you have to figure out who exactly do you want to be talking to? Who exactly can you help the most? Who you'll find that your brand gets more and more diluted, and it's till it's not able to be found at all. If you take a very middle of the road approach, you have to really narrow that focus and choose a path. Yep. You're exactly right, Dave. People are willing to tattoo Harley Davidson, you know, on their skin because that brand is so powerful and it represents such a, and that's exactly the point. It goes beyond the idea of a brand to a value, a way of being. You know, if you are a Harley Davidson fan, you have a certain way of looking at the world, and which goes into archetypes and all that kind of fun stuff that I really like to do. But yeah, you're definitely, you're a rebel, you know, a rebel archetype, and you like to challenge the status quo, and you're very proud of that fact. So yeah, and that's a really interesting point about the tattoo thing, because that's something I often ask clients when they get very hung up around the idea that they have to have a logo, you know, and I ask them, be prepared for the logo to be something that you would want to have tattooed on you for the rest of your life. Because when you go with a logo, and again, that's not the right choice for everybody. It really depends on what you're doing and what, you know, what your goals are and what your vision is. But a lot of people think that the way to stand out is to have a logo, and that's simply not true. You don't need to have one. It's not imperative. And I talk with a lot of clients who they have one and they don't like it anymore, and then we're back to the drawing board of the rebrand process. So it's really, you're married to that for a long time. So it's very, very not something to be taken lightly, that's for sure, in your branding. Yeah, so that's a very powerful thing as well. The other, you know, the next piece of that is really, what do you do best? I call this, again, your USP, your unique superpower in your brand. Boiling that down to, you know, oftentimes the standard answer is, I help people. Well, the garbage man helps me by picking up my trash every week, so I don't have to do it. But that's not why he's doing what he's doing, you know. It goes beyond the idea of just helping people. You have to really drill down and figure out, what is it about the work you do and the way that you do it that gives people something. So it's really figuring out when you feel in the most flow, what really lights you up about your work, and tapping into that. And that will help you drill down into your brand essence. That will really help you narrow your focus as well. Intuition is queen when it comes to branding. You know, you often hear the whole content is king, and I don't know what's queen, or content's queen anymore. I don't know. Consistency could be queen, I guess. That's an interchangeable thing. I consider it intuition. And that goes back to the whole idea of when you are starting out and you have all these pieces of advice and people are telling you all these shoulds that you should be doing. You have to really kind of go inside and listen to that inner voice and figure out if it is the right thing for you to do. It doesn't matter if it's the latest marketing fad, if it's the marketing du jour of the day. If it's not something you're comfortable with and it makes you feel in alignment, it's not going to work. And it's not, and people can sense that. So it's really important to, you know, to really listen to that inner voice on how you want your brand to show up and what that looks like for you. So, if, you know, if you want to write, you're not a blogger, don't blog, you know, find something else. If you'd rather record, you know, what you have to say on audio, or do videos, or do a hangout, or a new, you know, whatever that is, you have to really sort of fine tune your frequency around that inner voice, and that will help guide you in what are the best decisions for crafting your best, most aligned and resonant brand. Let's see. Oh, you gotta draw a line in the sand around your beliefs and values. We live in this digital age where we don't want to piss anybody off. We want to sort of take the middle of the road approach, and we hide a lot of who we are. And the fact of the matter is, you're never going to be enough for somebody. You're going to be too much for somebody. You're going to not say enough, or you're going to say too much, or, you know, you're always going to, as long as you have drawn the line in the sand around your beliefs and your values, that's the only thing that you have to be concerned about. Because more concerning is that nobody's paying attention at all to what you have to say. And I always use the example of myself, because when I first started out, and I really kind of I was a life coach first, I moved into career coaching, and then moved specifically into the branding piece. I listened to a lot of the outside voices that said, oh, there's no such thing as a personal brand. That's just, you know, that's a fad. And, you know, people aren't a product, and all that kind of thing. And I really let that sort of cast doubt into what I wanted to do. And, you know, I call crap on that, because you are a brand. You are a product of your experiences, of your beliefs, of your values, of your opinions, of your perspectives, of the people that are in your life, your environment. All of that comes together with you as the product of that. So why not showcase the very best of yourself and all the really wonderful things about yourself in the best way possible, in the most strategic way possible? It's not being fake, it's being who you are. You're just wanting all the best of you to come out. So, so once I sort of reframed that for myself, I fully embraced the idea of branding, and I defend it, and I am all about it, and I absolutely firmly draw the line in the sand around that. So it's important to really take the stand of what you believe in, because you're not going to please everybody. That's okay. They're not your right people. You don't have to. All right, what's next? Oh, this is kind of one that we just talked about, Dave Moore. People connect to people. So, you know, especially in this digital space that we're in now, upping your emotional intelligence quotient, your EQ, really tapping into what makes other people tick, building relationships, telling your story in a way that other people can relate to, tapping into your leading archetype, which can help you with your languaging. It can help you with the voice and vibe of your brand. All of those things are super important today in building a resonant and aligned brand. And, you know, one of the things too is it doesn't have, people think that this takes some time, and they're right, it does. It takes time to build a resonant and aligned brand, because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly growing, you're constantly learning things, assimilating new information, synthesizing new information, particularly in this digital age. I mean, we all have ADD because we're inundated with so much information anymore. And I don't say that lightly, because I was a special ed teacher for 15 years back in the day. So I have background on that, and I understand what that means. So you have to really go about building your brand for the long term, so that it's something sustainable, so that it is growing and evolving with the digital landscape, so that it stays relevant, so that you stay relevant, so that you're contributing to the conversation in a meaningful way that people listen to. And that's really the whole idea of being an influencer. That's where that comes in, is, you know, and I cringe over those words, you know, thought leader and expert and all that kind of thing today, because anybody can say that they are that after they've taken 2 courses around something. So, you know, you have to be very judicious in who you listen to and how they show up day in and day out. And you learn, you find out who those people are. And those are the people who are the true influencers, because they don't think about being an influencer. They think about changing the way people think. So another thing that I find holds people back a lot is their website. I will have people email me and, Danielle, you need to help me. I hate my website. Well, if your website sucks, change it. Get it fixed. You know, that's something that, if that's one of those things that you're tolerating and you can't move forward, then it has to become a priority for you, because even in the long run, you can have people say, oh, your website's, it's not important, just get out there and do whatever. But if it's something that's really bothering you, it's holding you back from having your most aligned and resonant brand, and you need to get that fixed. Like, I need to get these bangs fixed because they're driving me bananas today. So it must be the hat. I'm not used to wearing a crazy witch hat. So, but you have to address the things that are really sort of the burrs under your brand saddle, because if you don't do that, then they start to pile up and they start to be excuses for you not to put yourself out there, for you not to make a difference in the work that you do the way that you know that you can. So it's really important to take care of those things that you're tolerating in your business that are really, really bugging you. And it doesn't have to be all at once. You know, it might be something relatively simple that would at least satisfy you for the moment until you could, do more, until you could consult with somebody to really get the essence of you out there in your online space. So your online home is what I call that, your website. So, and it's really important to do that. So, you know, marketing doesn't have to be this huge house of horrors for you when your brand is very aligned with your message, with your vision, with your voice, with how you show up. It's easy then, because you know your value and you're putting it out there, and it feels really good. It feels wonderful to do that. So, you know, marketing can be fun. Marketing can be a joy, and because you know, we're all marketing ourselves in some way, shape, or form. No matter what you're doing, you're selling yourself. No matter what you're doing in the world, in some way, shape, or form, you are marketing yourself. So why not have it be the best version of you that you want out there, and make it fun? You know, it should be fun. It should be a fun thing to do. So don't try to fit yourself into somebody else's blueprint or formula or system or cookie cutter mold, or, you know, none of that's not going to work. You can't put yourself into somebody else's mold. They broke the mold when they made you. So what you need to do is take information that you learn, synthesize it, take what you need, take what fits for you, and apply that to creating and crafting your brand. That's what the bottom line is about that. So, and here we are at the top of the hour. It is now 3 o'clock, the witching hour. It's the witching hour. My half hour here is up. So I'm going to post the link to the green room if anybody wants to jump in and hang out with me. You are welcome to do that. Let me get that, and I will post that over here. Yes. Okay. Alrighty then. Let me do that. I'm so not good with this tech stuff. Y'all have to just bear with me a moment. Oh, thank you, Dave. That's very sweet of you to say. I would love to invite you in here. Let me see. All right. Okie dokie. I'm coming back. Hang on 1 second. Okay. All right. There you go. Okay, so the link should be there if anybody wants to jump in and talk branding. If you have any questions that you don't want to put in the chat, but you want to ask me in private or as private as the green room can be, depending upon who shows up, I'm happy to talk with you about that. So thank you for hanging out with me today. It's always a fun time. I'm still learning this process, so thanks for your patience with that as well. So I'm going to get it eventually. I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but I do enjoy this a lot. It's a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody. Have a great Halloween and have a wonderful weekend. And maybe we'll talk turkey next month about branding. So, all right, have a good one, everybody. Come join me in the green room. Come hang out. See you next time.